Hello, it's me, Nicole Hartley Bradford. I am loving how committed I am to this radical honesty project. This is week 6, and once again, nobody is in the room. The first week, someone was there, but the last 4, it's been just me, and it's just me again. And I love it because past Nicole, I did a lot of things, and it was really all about who showed up. And when people didn't show up, I would be so discouraged. I would be like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing it? What's the point? Nobody cares. I even, wow, okay, lots of memories are coming back. And I'm just ecstatic to notice that it's 10:03 a.m. on a Tuesday. This is when I relocated the radical honesty calls so that more people could come, and nobody's here. And I'm like, no problem. I'm I'm here, and sweaty armpits and all. And I also, to be radically honest, I want to make a cup of tea. I want to make a few pieces of toast, and I'm going to go fucking do it. And I'm going to keep recording. So if you're here for this and you need to, like, if you've been neglecting your body or you just haven't got to it yet, you haven't made time to feed your physical body and your energetic body with some delicious tea, some toast, maybe something nourishing, go do it. And if you don't want to wait for however long it takes me to do it, just fast forward to the part where I'm back, and I'll see you then. While my boils and my tea toast pops, I just heard it. I just wanted to come back and say something. I I was just, it's wild because I had with the video running and me going away from it, it's almost like this I'm still in the space with this deepened uh, field of the principle of radical honesty coming in even more. And I was like, wow, like if I'm radically honest, I love how I'm okay with how messy my mom's house is. I love how I don't get parental on her about it should be tidier. And I love how I get less parental on myself about you should clean up more than you already do. And I also flashed on some time I had with another family recently where I was so grateful about how radically honest two of the people in the space were, three of them. And then there was a fourth person. And often when I was like ecstatic with this principle of radical honesty happening, and the fourth person would suddenly say, TMI, TMI, too much information. And I would freeze. And I noticed this, like the conditioning I still carry, the patriarchy I still carry in me is when someone says too much information, it's like, and my honesty, like is like I hold it in, and I feel sad that I didn't say, not for me. It's not too much information for me. In fact, it's finally the kind of information I want. I want to hear about stuff like that. Thank you for trusting me with this information. Okay, I'm gonna go butter my toast and make my tea. I'm back with my Earl Grey tea with milk and sugar. I'm gonna let it steep a little longer. And my toast and Marmite and butter. Wow, I notice this fear that I feel. It's like, what will people think about what I've chosen as my food? Like, what will people think to hear that I put sugar in my tea and that I eat Marmite? What the heck's that? And it's like, yeah, just flashing on memories of times when, yeah, people's reactivity or opinions about my choices generated fear, and I used that fear to pull back and back and back. And I feel glad because I do that less now. I do it so much less. And yeah, I I had a call yesterday with Kian, who is part of the Radical Honesty Project, about creating a Radical Honesty series together. And the seed for that happened after he watched the video of me with Michael Allen Kolb when I was asking him, Michael Allen Kolb goes by Mac, uh, how could I be in a radical honesty training with him? And his he proposed that I organize one that he delivered, and that then I would be in it, and I would get paid even part of the income from the other participants. And so in this video that Mac and I were talking about this, after we'd agreed to it, we had a call where I interviewed him and I shared a bit about where I was coming from, wanting to study and use radical honesty more. And Kian watched it, and and we had a conversation. He said he wanted to be radically honest with me, that from his perspective, I was radically honest in that call, and that why was I? He wanted to know, why was I like waiting for somebody else to deliver a series? Why didn't I deliver a series? Because he thought that I had it in me to deliver a really valuable series about radical honesty, and I had to let that in. I had to let it in, and I don't know, I started wanting to explain myself. But what was more honest than my explaining was that I was sad that I don't see myself that way, that I wasn't seeing what Kian was seeing. And so this seed was planted that I might deliver a radical honesty training. And then I also, part of my honesty was I want to do it with somebody else. Like I want to do it alongside somebody. And then I can't remember if Kian or I said it first, like, how about we do this together? In any case, yesterday we met again, and how I can barely remember how it went. I wish we'd recorded it. Damn. Because I wish we'd recorded it, because I don't even know how it happened that I was talking and Kian did something that was like maybe just slowing me down and encouraging me to be more radically honest. And I got this thing where there's this way that I can be going fast, I can be in my head a lot, and I skim the surface of what's really happening underneath. And slowing down and being honest has a way of bringing me into reality. And when I came down into reality about whatever it was that Kian and I were looking at together, it really I I was experiencing myself as a Gaian woman, as Gaia in the form of a woman. And this, and there's so much. There's just always so much happening in a Gaian woman. And, and this goes side by side with this TMI thing and this that happens that I'm so angry about. I feel so angry that there are so many women who are, you know, Gaian, obviously. Here we are. This is Earth. This is Gaia. We're part of it. Whether we think it or not, whether we get it or not, whether we experience it or not, because what's in the way of our experiencing ourselves as Gaian is this fear habit that puts us in our heads and somehow this everythingness gets turned into nothing. You are nothing. You are wrong. You are bad. You are too much. You should be humble. You should tone it down. You should be civilized. You should do the right thing. You should smarten up. You should shut up. And and then, especially this everything of woman gets, they get smaller with it. And then also with men, this kind of uh, empty nothingness that it's so beautiful that for them to be. It's like they're trying to be everything. They're trying to be something. And what I've been discovering and experiencing with some of the men in my world who are committed to kind of becoming nothing. And that's not like a value statement. It's and neither is this everythingness of woman. It's a distinction. It's there's something real in the everythingness of woman and the nothingness, like the open space of a man, where the everythingness of a woman can like flood in, and her being can come forward into this space that's held by a man. And of course it can happen the other way around. A woman can hold space and what's in a man can come out. And that's important too. In any case, in this call with Keen yesterday, it came in. And I think I talked in last week's video. I think that happened during anyway, I had a space with Sonia Gonsalves, who also held space for me to bring forward this kind of more essence of myself, my being, the part of me that I draw back and cover over and feel scared to expose and be honest about and to show up with. And I love that this radical honesty theme, this radical honesty project, this radical honesty research is deepening my ability and capacity to do these energetic moves and to really show up with everything. And then there's this question of like, oh, what of everything is the most honest, relevant to communicate? And this reminds me a lot about having four feelings: anger, sadness, fear, and joy happening all of the time. And it's the one that's most intense that I would say I'm feeling, even though the other three feelings are there. And how cool it is that once I say or use that feeling, that then what's next can emerge. And it's like this 4-cylinder creation machine running on anger, sadness, fear, joy. And it can come out and out. And I love what happened in Heart Gym this morning. I was in a breakout room with Anna. I'm scared I'll say her surname wrong, so I won't say it. And this honesty about things we've been that we're incompetent about, and just unfolding this honesty and feeling the sadness and fear and anger, and then feeling joy because there we were, two Gaian women being radically honest about our incompetence, feeling about it, and and it and and then what was real was this alive space, two Gaian women in contact with each other, bringing everything, bringing the everythingness by bringing what was really alive, what we were really feeling and thinking. It was so cool. I highly recommend Heart Gym. It is a radical honesty building space. All right. Oh, and yeah, so page 5 in Brad Blanton's book, Radical Honesty, the truth changes. Yeah, I feel so mad. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I feel so mad when people talk about the truth. The truth changes. And that doesn't change, that truth. Because it's a distinction. It's not a truth, it's how it is. And there's distinctions that describe reality, how it goes. And there are distinctions that describe that reality is an emerging creation. Because of being lost in our own minds, we fail to recognize that the truth changes. Yeah, being lost in our own minds, we fail to recognize that the truth changes. When the truth changes and we fail to recognize what has now become true, while holding on to the idea of what used to be true, we become liars committing suicide. Kian and I were talking about what the name of our series might be about radical honesty, and one of the first thing that came to me was where did it go? I can't even remember. It was a be honest or die. With this, and then another one was alive, honestly, death or honesty, you choose. And I do it to myself. If at 8 p.m. I am mad at you and tell you about it and get quite worked up over it, and you get mad back and we talk about it and we stay committed to the conversation and to the possibility of getting over our anger, there's a good chance that by 8:45 p.m. we can laugh and have a drink and not be angry anymore. It was true that I hated your guts at 10 p.m., 8 p.m. It was no longer true sometime between 8:20 and 8:45. In contrast, people who live according to principles like, I hated you then, and for a good reason, so I still hate you now, can't get over things. This is reasonable, but stupid. I've seen a lot of reasonably stupid people in my life, he writes. Unlike me too, and I have been a reasonable and stupid person. Life goes on and the truth changes. This just happens to be the way life is. Description of reality. Life emerges, the truth changes. What was once true is often no longer true just a little while later. Yesterday's truth is today's bullshit. Even yesterday's liberating insight is today's jail of stale explanation. Yeah, what was true yesterday could become a prison for me today. That's reflected in a meme. Maybe I've said it before here, bears repeating. Don't let the next cool tools and methods and golden keys that you have become the new reason you beat yourself up for not doing better. Roles and rules are also thoughts, which, when grasped onto as principles, are hard for people to get over, or get beyond or let change. Roles and rules are thoughts that make it hard for people to get over or beyond. People choke the life out of themselves. It's so literal too, this like the fear. People choke the life out of themselves by tying themselves to a chosen self-image, any self-image whatsoever, usually many self-images you shift between without noticing. Many adults remain in a perpetual adolescence, locked in the protective confinement of a limited set of roles and rules. This protection kills. According to a study conducted by the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, 53% of people who die prior to age 65 do so for reasons directly related to lifestyle. Half of the people who die earlier than expected kill themselves by how they live. I say they kill themselves compensating for the starvation of being cut off from the nourishment of commonplace experience. They smoke, drink, take drugs, eat fatty meat, watch TV, don't exercise. They work hard to strive and take care of themselves and their families. I'm going to stop right there. I'm just going to put a pencil mark so I don't lose it. He's talking about how people take care of their physical bodies. And something I've discovered is that a big part of how I take care or don't take care of my physical body has to do with what I feel honestly scared about. But what I honestly want. She says, licking the non-organic butter off of her finger and still neglecting my toast, which is like, you know, this sliced light, it might as well be white bread, except it's just got a bit of bran in it. And my mind is like, and my good health person is like, you should feel ashamed. This isn't seedy, dense, nutrient-packed bread. And to be honest, I would love to be eating seedy, dense, nutrient-packed bread right now. I haven't made it a priority. It's easier to just grab what's in the fridge. By fridge, I don't mean to keep my bread in the fridge. Grab what's in the freezer that Mama's got or that I've got. She bought this to make egg salad sandwiches at church on Sunday. Every time I mention church in these videos, I feel scared I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be projected on as a certain type of Christian church-going person. That pisses me off. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to see me eating, opening my mouth big, taking a breath. Fuck. And now I'm like, but my cup is really pretty. They'll probably judge that as pretty. I want you to judge it as pretty. I want you to see my cup and think, that is the cup of an interesting, cool person. Just gotta eat. You can fast forward this part if you want. Or maybe you made some toast too and you finally. Or you've been eating it while you've been listening because you haven't been using your mouth for talking. Which I would love for you to do. That would be really cool. Would be if people watch these videos with another recording device that they could talk into and pause and talk into and pause. And I could listen to it after. Oh my God. Just trying to have digital conversations with people to make up for not having someone here in person or someone here digitally. And there's this part that's like, yeah, some of the voices I've said out loud, and I haven't blasted them. If you're watching this, you might not know you have a voice blaster, which is an energetic tool that lives for me. It's like, go like this. It's like you have a voice blaster and you can blast parental voices that you've internalized. It's on your energetic tool belt, which is around your waist. And how you know you have one is that I'd be like, okay, reach for it. And you'll just like reach for it. That time I reached across the front. I have another one in back. And when the voice is particularly gnarly, be like, I'm getting out the voice blaster from the back part of my belt. It's like, it's bigger than the one that's just like this, energetically. This is total bullshit. And it's helpful bullshit because then you can be like, I shouldn't be eating this kind of bread. Bang! All the silence is beautiful. And then, wait for the next voice. Sometimes when I bang, this thing happens and then I start crying. It's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to read one more paragraph here. I'm going to start reading again, I would say. They tried to have a good time. So people work hard to survive and take care of themselves and their families. They try to have a good time and do the best they can. They're constantly doing the best they can and not having it be good enough. Oh my God, this describes especially past me and still to a degree current me. They kill themselves with the same socially acceptable poisons all their friends use. It's not funny, and I'm laughing because I feel mad and scared about it. And I also feel glad because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I do exercise, I get great sleep, I'm careful in the sun. I nourish my energetic body and I nourish my emotional body. And this gives me some wiggle room when it comes to what kind of bread I choose to eat. They all were very much in touch with being alive at one time, and then got more and more lost in their minds. They miss something they can't quite get back to. They know of a renewed love of life. They know a renewed love of life has something to do with escaping their own minds and the conditions of life their minds have set up, but they just can't seem to do so. Moralism, a disease of living in the mind without relief, kills them. They die trapped in some country song, doing the best they can and trying to have a little fun, but never doing well enough to suit anybody, particularly themselves, or having enough fun to make up for the strain. Fun. I feel joy because I'm having more fun in my life than ever before, than I can ever remember. Maybe I had more fun when I was like 3 years old or something. I I went for a walk a couple days ago, just down to get the mail. And I came out of the house and the smell of the air was this sea and a warm day and all the, I don't know, sweat from the plants. It just smelled so good. And the sun was shining and I I couldn't stop myself. Hooray, I didn't stop myself. I chose not to stop myself from just breathing in and like opening my heart, my being to the deliciousness of the air and sky and the world and the warmth of the sun and the radiance of it and the sensations in my body as I interacted with everything around me. And then I was scared someone would see me and think I was crazy. And I'm noticing my fear of people thinking I'm crazy more, especially people who are really in their minds a lot. Like I did this crazy experiment on Friday where I knocked on people's doors and asked some of them for possibilities about where I could deliver Rage Club, about how I can generate money to go to Poland, which I want to do. This is something I've been waffling about. Do I really want to go? It's like when I'm really honest, I want to go. Also, when I'm really honest, I'm scared. I'm scared to commit to going and then not come up with the money it takes to pay for the things to go. And I'm working on it. I had the scariest call last night with my brothers. Ask them if they would make a GoFundMe for me, and all my honesty about how scared I am to ask it, to about what people will think if I ask for money to go on this, to be funded to go on this training adventure. Scared of just all the projections, all the all the projections that people have of me from the past that aren't accurate to how I am today, probably weren't even accurate to how I was back then, but were more accurate. And yeah, have not changed because and what was my thread? I don't care. I don't care what my thread was. I oh yeah, this fear of being seen as crazy, thought of crazy, judged as crazy, gossiped about as crazy, have my reputation kind of ruined and people not come to all these beautiful spaces that I create and deliver and go into with other people who create and deliver beautiful spaces. All this is so alive lately. Freedom from such a life is a psychological achievement. The freedom achieved by people who grow beyond the limitations of their childhood conditioning is freedom from their own minds. Freedom from one's own mind is freedom to create. Freedom. This is a word that I see being used in ways that don't work for me. This idea that what a freedom convoy does is drives a whole bunch of trucks to the federal capital of a country and like freaks people out, demanding freedom. It's like, if you are a freedom convoy, how come you don't notice you're already free and you already live in a country where there's a lot of privilege and a lot of space to do what you want and create? It blows my mind. I know people who think this way. It's like Canada's limiting my freedom, and move to countries where I'm like, you think that place is a place where there's more freedom? Interesting. And I'm not saying there's not less freedom there, because I know people who live in that country that I'm thinking of who are taking radical responsibility to become creators and to expand out of these mental prisons and energetic habit prisons. But in order to have some say in creating life, you must be willing to tell the truth. Telling the truth frees us from entrapment in the mind. The alternative to freedom is to live out a program imposed by prefabricated, internalized moral resolves. live out a program imposed by prefabricated internalized moral resolves, live out a program that I chose to internalize from outside, in the circumstances of outside influences, but I chose them. This is the cool thing. It's one way to word this. It's like it happened to you, which kind of opens up this thing. Well, if they did it, then I need them to undo it. Whereas if I'm saying I chose it, I chose to internalize these moral resolves. They were prefabricated, but I chose to internalize them. That means I can dismantle them. I can free myself from them. I can choose differently. I can change my mind about living from these internalized moral resolves. Living this way is a gradual suffocation, which makes us simultaneously more dead and more desperate. Creativity, using the mind rather than being used by the mind, is the cure for all stress disorders. I want to say something else about that, which maybe I've said before, and it is this. There's this way that I see a lot of people doing, and I'm not saying they're wrong, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're at where they're at, and it's there's a purpose to me talking about it, which is not to shame them or blame them. There's this way. I did it too, by the way. I made myself a victim of how things had gone in the past. And I made myself a victim of how my nervous system was about it. Not just my mind, but my nervous system. And I was like a victim of having been victimized. And I couldn't get out of it. And partly is because my nervous system was just jangled. It was, I was constantly overstimulated. I couldn't tell that I was overstimulating myself. I couldn't tell that I was letting this happen. Instead of using my mind, I was being used by my mind. And this created this stress disorder. And there's this amazing possibility that came alive in my life because I did the experiments that were recommended to me. I went to Rage Club because I was told in clear and distinct terms that I didn't have access to my anger. I was not being honest about how angry I was. And I wasn't being honest about how angry I was because I was scared of my anger. I'd seen what it did when I used it unconsciously and irresponsibly. Rage Club gave me a place to go where I could learn, I could be honest about my anger, I could feel it, and then I could choose how I was going to use it. Was I going to let my anger own me, or was I going to own my anger and use it to create? And as I did this, I regenerated my nervous system. So I no longer need or want, though sometimes I want something about it, but to be co-regulate with somebody else. I don't need to regulate my nervous system. I don't need to shut my door to shut out the world because I need to come and decompress really from all the lies I've been holding inside. So this is how it worked. I regenerated my nervous system while I learned to be honest about especially my anger and use it responsibly to create. Fucking cool. Okay, where is that little tab? There's one more sentence in this section. Willingness to tell the truth in order to be free from your secretly assessing, secret-keeping mind creates the possibility of using your mind to make a future as an artist rather than a victim, as a creator rather than a victim, as a creator rather than a complainer, as a creator rather than a bullshit storyteller where I'm trying to convince somebody else of my story about myself, which is that I am unlucky, I'm a loser, I'm broken, I need fixing, nobody loves me, nobody wants to help me, and my life is pointless. So that takes us to page 7 in the introduction, and the next heading is bullshit. So I'm gonna put a little pencil there and put my handy dandy bookmark in there, and I'm gonna use these last 12 minutes to eat more toast and drink more tea. The truth is that I think other toast would be more nourishing for my physical body, and that so far I've been choosing not to get that toast. I may continue to make that choice. I'd be glad at least about being honest about it. And I think of people who smoke and drink all their lives, or one or the other, and live till they're, wily 102-year-olds. I think the older people are, the more likely that they're telling a lot of truth, or that they're being honest, telling a lot of this moment's truths, not so mired in the different kinds of bullshit, especially the useless ones. And they use their minds to create, even if they use their minds to create a little bit, a kind of prison. I mean, you can't get out of that. I don't think you can't get out of having a mind. I think you can get out of how often you get out of your mind as a prison. I mean, you can get out of your mind more often. It's like I find myself in this new freedom state because I've dropped beliefs, I've dropped thoughts, I've dropped into my heart, I've dropped into my body, I've dropped into reality. And then I discover a new way that I'm still in a prison, and it's another layer. And again, not wrong, not bad. It's not what I want. And I have been wanting it. The truth that, or the proof that I want something is that that's what's happening. Even though I can want to want something else, what I'm actually wanting is what I'm creating, because I'm a creator. I can be creating this degree of being imprisoned by my mind. I can be creating this degree of being an active creator where more possibilities are being turned into actualities, and more things are existing that didn't exist before because I want them to exist. Honesty. Yeah. There are things that I've lied about during this call. There are things I missed. And I think this is where it becomes really relevant to talk about the conscious use of fear, because it's mostly unconscious fear that I use to hold in honesty, to hold in honest communications about what I think and feel. And there's a way to learn to use fear consciously, to choose to say this rather than this, because of the consequences it creates, because of the intimacy it builds, rather than because of the consequence of killing intimacy. And it's not right or wrong to build or kill intimacy. It is different. It goes how it goes. And it might even be that killing intimacy would lead to more intimacy later. And I love this because basically it's the distinction about reality that frees me from my fear that would stop me from saying something that I seems really relevant and appropriate, and so that the relational space can have a mess in it, and then we can clean up the mess and then have more intimacy because we did it, because we got through. We didn't let the mess end our friendship, end our collaboration, and our partnership as creators, as co-creators. Even if we took time away, it might have been some minutes, some hours, some days, some months, some years, some decades perhaps. But that if that can come, if we can come back to that relational space and be radically honest, then the mess can be cleaned up. And this is, yeah, this is something that I was feeling sad about today when I was being radically honest in the heart gym with Anna, was that I have all these messes in relational spaces, people that I've taken a break from, who've also taken a break from me, and they're not coming back. They're not coming to clean up those messes. And I want to clean them up. And it is entirely selfish. It's like, I want to clean them up so I can say I clean that up. And I don't have my mind, just, I can get that out of my mind. It's like this moralistic, you should clean that mess up, you should clean that mess up. I mean, I guess there's two ways I could do this. I could keep blasting that voice, you know, you should call this woman I'm thinking of. I'm too scared to say her name. Doesn't matter, her name doesn't matter. You should call her. Bang! You should clean up your mess with her. Bang! Ah, and it's like, it was, you should ask her forgiveness for what you did. Bang! And I don't know what I did. And you hear the attitude I said that with? It's like, I resent her for not answering my invitation to my birthday party. And then I resent her for not later on coming and saying why she didn't answer it, why she didn't come. And then I resent her for not telling me why she didn't tell me. And it's like every day that goes by, or every thought of her that goes by, there's more resentment that she hasn't yet reached out to me. And I let this just sit and sit, and I don't ask her for a space. I'm not clear if I want to do that. It's like it has this well, I'm not clear if I want to make time for it more than I want to make time for other things. And this might be, the kind of ongoing consideration is, what do I want to make time for? I have 24 hours in a day. I want to make some of that time for sleeping, some of that time for preparing and eating food and cleaning up after that, taking care of my physical body, washing it in the bathroom, exercising, enjoying the sun and the smell of the air and the smell of the flowers outside, and just being. I want to make time for this project, for the other projects I have on my projects projects in the making list. It's these ones. And the projects these are the ones that have gone out on offer or are underway. And these ones are the ones that they're in the creation stage, not the delivery, the invitation stage. And then these are ones I want to flow this way in the chart. And eventually some of these will go over here and be on the back burner. This is basically the cook stove of my archetypal lineage. I love it. I feel sad that collaborators are missing, even from spaces where there are a lot of collaborators. I want a village. I want an in-person, deeply collaborative, radically honest village of people who have regenerated their nervous systems and are continually regenerating their nervous systems, and sometimes doing what seems a little bit more like co-regulation, but is more in the territory of feeding our bodies. Just like, just because I've eaten a big meal, my physical body is like satiated. It's like it doesn't need another big meal. And it might still want to have a square of chocolate. So just because I don't need it doesn't mean I don't want it. Just because I don't need like daily holding doesn't mean that I don't want it from time to time. And yeah, this is something that I don't ask for. And I tell myself I don't have people to ask. And in a way, the truth about it, the honesty about it, is that I'm scared to ask the people I have to ask because they don't have so many distinctions. They don't have so much experience with radical honesty. And I'm scared of what they would think and project. And then I'm scared they would say something from that triggered place and that then my grandma would pick a fight or try to be right. Yeah. This is the end of this call. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for communicating to me if you choose to do that. Thank you for talking about it with others if you choose to do that. May there be more radical honesty in the world so that human beings can come down and out of their mind traps into reality and create together. Amen.